Talking your teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Scanning through Mike Mayock's top 100, and these are basically straight up prospect rankings, has nothing to do with mock drafts and such. And when we're talking the subject of tight end, I'll just give you who's in his top 100 at tight end. He had his top rated tight end is Hayden Hurst of South Carolina, and he has him at number 35 on his list. Let me keep scrolling because the next one is Mike Gesicki. Of course, Penn State tight end at 58. Dallas Goedert at 62. Mark Andrews at 67. Chris Herndon from Miami at 68. And anyone else in the top 100? Tyler Conklin he's from Central Michigan at 96. And that's his top 100 tight ends. That alone just goes to prove the point we're about to make about tight ends. The fact that any of these guys aren't being mentioned in the top 20 or top 15, or no one's being an O.J. Howard, no one, even you could say a misevaluation on Eric Ebron. But the tight end, to me, is still a total mystery in this draft. I think people have just been programmed after seeing mock draft after mock draft after mock draft after mock draft from experts, just throwing a tight end to the Saints at 27. People are saying, oh, that's what they got to do. I totally disagree. Absolutely 100% totally disagree.
Well, and the other factor, not only is this not a great tight end group by any means, the other factor is the Saints just have never invested a first-round pick in a tight end. They haven't done it since, the last first-round tight end?
I'm kind of scared to ask.
Either one of you two know. A little trivia.
Trivia time.
A little trivia.
What is it?
Irv Smith.
Oh, I remember him. Is that in the Willie Roaf draft?
93.
That was Willie Roaf draft.
Willie Roaf and Irv Smith. And this is a different era, too. That's the last first-round draft pick at tight end for the Saints. So, look, I know you can't always look at things like that, but I agree with you, Larry. These tight ends, nobody stands out to me. And I think people, like you said, they're just programmed. They're looking at other drafts, and they're just programming in, popping in a tight end, when I think the Saints are going to just take the best guy there on their board because they're in position to. They have that luxury to do that. But all things being equal, more than likely, they're going to have a pool of players, a handful, that are all graded similarly. And so it's not going to be so cut and dried to say the best player on the board, unless one of these guys that's in their top 15 drops down. Then it's cut and dried.
Like a Ryan Ramczyk.
Like Ramczyk, but I don't think that's going to happen this year because this draft isn't as deep as last year's. So I don't think the possibility of somebody really high, in their mind, maybe it could be, but I just don't think so. Now, the difference is the Saints probably don't have these quarterbacks graded as high as some of the other teams because they don't need them.
All you have to hear is Sean Payton even discuss the quarterbacks. He's done so numerous times already through numerous outlets, and he has not backed down unless he's just throwing smoke screen
I don't
out
think
there.
he is.
I don't think he is
Somebody
either.
texted me yesterday, a friend of mine that's a big Saints fan, and he, how people are. I think people overthink the smoke screen thing. I think they put way too much stock in that, and here's why. Sean Payton knows he's not going to draft into these guys more than likely, so he can be candid. He's not going to get Sam Darnold, so of course he's going to be able to be candid about him right now. Now, if they were up in the top 5, I don't think he'd be saying anything truthworthy.
He'd be in love with them.
Right. He would have all kinds of smoke screen, but on this situation with a top 5 or 10 pick, he knows they're down at 27. He's going to be honest, and I think he's being truthful on that. And I agree with him. I don't see an Andrew Luck in this class.
Or a Carson Wentz or somebody like that. Now, he's always looking for one, and he's admitted that as well. But I think you're right in that Sean Payton is telling it like he thinks it is because he feels like he's probably got enough clout to do so, and I would agree he's certainly got enough clout to do so, and he certainly knows how to coach quarterbacks. There's no doubt about that.
And you were there. I was not there. But there are also people are overstating and overplaying what he said about Lamar Jackson. He was asked about Lamar Jackson. So he's going to answer it. It wasn't like he just brought it up on his own. He was asked about him, and and it was kind of, some glowing, but it wasn't all glowing. So I just feel like people are acting like he brought it up on his own and was praising him. No, he wasn't.
Totally inaccurate if you think that's the case. He was asked specifically about Lamar Jackson. This was at the owners' meetings. And this, to me, was telling. The first thing he mentioned, he's got a great smile. When I heard that, okay, he's not some superior, he's not Johnny Unitas or Joe Montana, but boy, he's got a Hollywood smile.
Well, I would say, and that's a good point, but I would say one of the first things he says about Drew Brees, he's got huge hands. That's one of the first things he always said.
Well, if Lamar Jackson's got like little itty bitty small hands, he wouldn't.
I know, but I guess what I'm saying is sometimes Payton is just weird in what comes to his mind first because look, a lot of
hands you got to hold the football. Smile. Hey.
I know, but I agree with you. But of all the things that come to mind about Drew Brees, that'd be way down the list for me. If somebody asked me, "What's it like covering Drew Brees? What's he like?" That would be like number 20, but it would come to mind. But Payton, things pop in his head. Sometimes let's face it, he's not normal.
I don't think anyone's normal if you're a head coach because you're wired differently than everyone else. But all right, let me kind of reverse back to the tight end chatter. And I am all about the Saints taking a tight end outside of round one. I have no problem with them taking a tight end outside of round one. And all you've got to do is look at some of the history, and I wrote a tight end column last week, the history of some of the stud tight ends in the NFL. Gronk, second round. Jimmy Graham, third round. Travis Kelce was a third rounder. Jason Witten was a third rounder. Now, Tony Gonzalez was a first rounder, and they got it right there.
Jason Witten might have been a first rounder.
I think he was a third round guy.
Was he really? Wow.
Yes.
Because he's had a really distinguished career. I mean, if you get a Jason Witten, that's what you want, right?
Antonio Gates was undrafted. It's something that I just think it's really I don't think it's hit. I think it's more missed than anything else. Okay, I'll give you third-round tight ends, outside of day one. Gronk, Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, Jordan Reed, Jason Witten. Were the most recent ones. The first-round tight ends since 2006. Vernon Davis, Mercedes Lewis, Greg Olson, Dustin Keller, Brandon Pettigrew, Jermaine Gresham, Tyler Eifert, Eric Ebron, O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, and David, I forget how to pronounce his name, Joku, David Njoku, the kid out of Miami.
Yes.
Those are your tight ends since first-round tight ends since 2006. Would you rather take the ones on day two or the ones on day one?
No, that's a very good point. Great list, and I think that kind of establishes maybe the value of that position in the NFL, even as valuable as it is to the Saints. I think they've got good tight ends on the roster. Ben Watson is
enough.
He's good. They're fine at tight end. They got 4 good tight ends. They can worry about drafting another one another day. Or maybe take him in the 3rd, 4th round. I agree with you.
What would be better? A defensive tackle who can make plays on defense, a defensive end, another corner, or a tight end who maybe might catch 4 passes a game and you hope he can block when you've got weapons all over the map? Come on.
Yeah, and Drew Brees has proven over the years that he can take kind of mediocre skill position players, and spin gold out of hay.
Ben Watson. If you want to talk about tight ends, Ben Watson, put him right up there on the list.
He's at the top, in my opinion. But guys like Lance Moore, Willie Snead, Marcus Colston, none of those were high picks. Some of them weren't even drafted. And they've been very productive in this offense because of the way the Saints run it and the multiple weapons that they have at their disposal. All of a sudden, defenses aren't concentrating on the tight end. And they're not going to concentrate on the tight end in this offense. They're going to concentrate on Mike Thomas and those 2 running backs, and that's going to leave just a tight end, just an average tight end is going to have opportunities here. And Ben Watson's a little bit of above average tight end, I would say.
Even at his age right now. And he's on a 1-year deal, and he knows this could be his last run, but the Saints know exactly what they have in him. And he bounced back from his injury a couple of years ago to have a very good year. So much so, he had more production than every tight end combined for the Saints. I feel good about him. 1 year. Who can't? I just can't get it. I think it's the groupthink.
Yes, that's exactly what
has
it is.
been
That happens every year with the draft. Every year. And part of the reason for that is what Peter King had in his Monday Morning Quarterback. We have 4 months to think about it. Why is the draft in late April and early May? It's ridiculous.
So there could be 4 months of hype. Come on.
It's ridiculous.
You got to have the combine, and then you got to space it out, and you got to come on, Jeff. Senior
some
Bowl's
league
there.
owner meetings and stuff.
You got to have pro days where NFL Network can go and fill some airtime.
There's some other game that goes on in February that I guess some teams play in for some trophy. I don't know, man.
I mean, look.
Bore me to death.
Or if the draft was earlier, you'd have 3 months of OTAs.
Even worse.
Take your give and take, Jeff.
Even worse.
Be careful
Spring
what you wish
football.
for.
Here's a good thing, though. Clearly, with New Orleans becoming a basketball city, that just means that we're closer.
They will be
to the
forever.
All-Star. We're closer to the All-Star break. So once the Saints season ends, I mean, and during the Saints season, we'll be talking about the Pelicans, man. So you don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
The NBA does it right. They establish the lottery, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, they have the draft.
Yeah, but then you don't talk about the
NBA.
NBA for 4 months. They fall off the map. NFL
That's
spreads it out.
That's not true. That's
true.
That's the
NFL drives it. Come on, you know it.
I mean, you got Summer League. You got
Nobody
some other
cares.
things.
Summer League. That's like OTAs.
Yeah, that's until you get to be one of the lucky souls that gets to go to Vegas for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's not terrible.
The random reporter. So one guy loves it.
There is nothing worse than Summer League NBA basketball.
See?
Come on. I remember everybody getting fired up.
Preseason NFL football?
People getting fired up a few years ago. Who was that guy, the little guard that was lighting it up for the Pelicans?
Oh, Jimmer Fredette? I don't know.
Jimmer Fredette. Guy was averaging like 30
Jimmer
points
time.
a game.
Jimmer time.
Everybody was getting fired up. It was a little Pierre Jackson, is that his name? He was a little point guard from Baylor or something. He was averaging 28 points a game. Everybody's fired up, and once the real ball got thrown up.
What, are you telling me that preseason and or non-real competition doesn't breed actual results like NFL preseason does?
What are you talking
I'm
about?
not saying NFL preseason is great, but
There's
I'm
a
just
lot of
saying
people
what the
don't-
NFL
you're
does
not.
by design.
There's a lot of people who don't like
people
NFL
live and die
preseason
off
football.
of this stuff. That's just what it is. The NFL
People with
doesn't-
no lives, yes, live and die.
There are millions of people that have no lives and still have dollars to spend.
Did you
Jeff.
read the column? It was great. There was somebody in there that said, quoting an NFL source or an NFL executive, is saying they feel like the NFL draft can be as big as a presidential election. That's how delusional these people in Park Avenue are. They think it's that big. Come on.
It's pretty big.
I'm not saying it's not big, but it's not that big. Get over yourself. It's
For
a
real.
draft.
For real.
It's a player draft.
It's a close second.
Hashtag true dat.
And they're getting ready to have this year. We talked about on the show the other day. They're going to have basically teams, fans divided up at Dallas. Was it AT&T Stadium? Almost like a primary convention, like a Republican or
Do you get to
Democratic
wear a
convention.
cool little white top hat, like
You
a
get to wear
styrofoam
your
hat,
you get to wear your and sit with your other
and look like Colonel Sanders
Delegates?
and his hat?
Yeah, it's like a delegation. You'll have like the Saints delegation, and somebody made a good point. I don't think the Rams have a pick to like the third round, so their little delegation's going to be sitting there. I don't know what they're going to be doing.
Well, people in Los Angeles probably don't even know the draft's going on. So that's one place no one really cares. All right, let's take a break right here. One more break. Lots of good conversation. If you missed any of it, we're going to have more of it tomorrow and the next day, of course. But if you missed it, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, YouTube, and Clyde will have an update. I don't know which one it's going to be.
It's been such a good literally it's been such a good day for really good topics. I mean, it's hard to choose right now between the Boogie Cousins thing, but I think the tight ends, because I mean we really haven't. I've been doing so much Pelican stuff. I think
tight ends need to. Yeah, I would agree. So, and this day in Louisiana sports history,
that's coming up.
I'm sure it's going to be tremendous. Sponsored by absolutely no one
Ever.
Awesome. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc Holder.
Feels like you know the machine.